Welcome to the AirPod, a podcast about aviation careers. From the cockpit to the control tower, aviation is an industry built on safety, but perhaps the most critical component of that is maintenance. Today we talk with Creighton, an airframe and power plant mechanic that has worked on everything from Cessnas to Gulfstreams.
My first job out of A&P school, I was changing an engine on a King Air.
Yeah, that is wild.
A&Ps, it's your license to learn.
Do you feel like they're getting enough information in that shortened period of time?
I don't think they have the best understanding of the hands-on side, even though they meet the same standards. Everyone wants to set timelines. Aviation is just something you don't rush.
What do you think pilots commonly misunderstand about maintenance?
Probably the biggest thing is...
I learned a lot in this episode, so now it's time for you to learn a little bit about Creighton.
Yeah, so now I'm a director of maintenance of a company in Arizona, doing tour ops, some helicopter stuff. Yeah, it's kind of, well, a lot of people in aviation, their family was in it as well, and it's a little different for me. My family, we were never aviation. No one ever was. Grew up kind of as a mechanic, working on everything, whether it's classic cars, new cars, semis, all of it. And I spent a lot of time around the Air Force Base up in Minot, where I'm from. My mom was a teacher on the base, so that was kind of a big role into getting into aviation.
Yeah, probably very familiar with the sound of B-52s.
Definitely. Yeah. that's all we got. So, yeah. And then kind of, like I said, just was a mechanic my whole life and wanted to work on something cool. And ended up picking airplanes, and I just stuck with it and ran.
What do you think led you to go the airplane path versus, cars or diesels or something like that?
It's the cars, it's just harder on your body. That's kind of what everyone says. Aviation isn't as tough on your body. I mean, working on them, you're not bent over or hunched over an engine bay the whole time like you are on a car.
Sure.
Airplane, kind of everything's right in front of you. It's
a
little more user-friendly. Not everything, but most of it.
Yeah. What about like volume-wise? Do you think there's less volume in aviation maintenance in terms of like actual vehicles worked on versus automobiles?
I don't know. I would say they're probably pretty similar. I mean, I guess there's less airplanes than cars.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you're probably always busy, right?
You're always busy.
Yeah.
They just break. I mean, airplanes, you're always working on one. So it's maybe not as many, but just bigger projects.
Yeah. So you said you didn't have the background in aviation in terms of like no family was in it or anything. Did you ever have, the idea that you might fly one day, or it was just straight maintenance from the beginning?
I always kind of wanted to do the flying thing, and I always enjoyed it. I had friends that were pilots, go up with them, and it was a blast. Always loved being in the air, being around the airport. I mean, you're just surrounded by a good community, which is kind of the best part. But career-wise, I always wanted to be working on something. I didn't see myself flying as a career. Yeah, so I stuck with the maintenance route.
Yeah, nice. And then from the vehicle mechanic side, I think most people are probably the most familiar with auto mechanics or truck mechanics when they think of mechanics in general. What do you think are some misconceptions, or what's different about working on airplanes versus working on cars?
I think the biggest thing with an airplane is like the amount of paperwork and the regulations and the rules that go into that compared to like working on a car. And, it all has its good reasons, but that is definitely one of the biggest differences is, how much paperwork and how in-depth you have to go with the manuals, and, everything has to follow a certain guideline.
Yep. And mechanically, at least with pistons, they're pretty similar, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, piston-wise, I mean, you got they're horizontally opposed, air-cooled piston engines. Kind of like a snowmobile engine is how I always tell people. You replace a cylinder instead of like the cylinder separate from the block instead of like a car. It's in the block. It's, so it's, that's really the only difference. And everything works the same.
Nice.
Yeah.
And when did it turn for you? When did it turn from just being a job to an actual career, something you saw yourself doing long term?
I think honestly, once I was started school, I realized that this was something I've always wanted, and I kind of grew a love for it. And that's kind of been how it's been ever since I've got into school, finished school, and where I'm at now. I've never thought of it as a job. This was always the beginning of a career, and yeah, it's led into a pretty good one.
Yeah, good. School wise, what does it take? I mean, is it a long process? Are there 2-year programs? How, describe if you wanted to get into aircraft maintenance. What does the schooling look like?
Yeah, so the schooling, there's so many options, and there's so many people that provide them. It's I went to a 2-year school. I think that's honestly probably the better route instead of some of the accelerated year-long programs. Um, I just don't think you get as much hands-on as you need. The 2-year, I mean, you really get to dive into everything. Excuse me. Um, yeah, so it's a 2-year program, and you are a certain amount of time in the classroom going through all the airframe, the power plant stuff. I mean, the FARs, everything you're going through. And then you also have your shop time. I mean, so you're doing your sheet metal, you're doing composite work, props, engines, airframe stuff. Yeah, a little bit of everything. So you come out of school having an idea of what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it seem kind of crazy that you learn every part of the airplane? Because like an auto mechanic, you kind of either you're doing auto body or you're doing mechanical. There's not a lot of crossover between the two, but with A&P, I mean, it's air airframe and power plant. Does that
Yep.
seem like a lot to learn in 2 years?
It is. Yeah. And that's something, we've always, at least my instructors, they always told us, like you said, that the AMPs, it's your license to learn. They're
Yeah.
not, you're not expected to come out of school knowing everything because it is a lot. Like you said, I mean, you're doing everything. You're not just working on an engine or, painting. I mean, you're working on an engine one day and the next day you're reskinning a wing. And well, you got to paint that too. So it's,
Yeah.
you got a little bit of everything in aviation and electrical. So, I mean,
That's wild.
it just doesn't stop.
No, that's crazy. And yeah, the electrical too, because I don't even know. I can't think of a shop off the top of my head. I mean, unless you're doing like audio installs or something, people don't really mess with electrical unless they're super specialized. So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a big thing in aviation. I mean, you have your specialized guys, your avionics,
Hmm.
um, but it's again, I mean, it's an AMP thing. You are getting your AMP to sign all that stuff off, and yeah, it's a lot different than a car.
So you said there's some accelerated programs, and on the pilot side, same thing. I mean, they're not a year, but they're quick. And I've talked to a couple pilots on here about that, and I kind of share their opinion where it feels too rushed and like there's gaps in knowledge. Have you worked with people or had experience with people that come out of those accelerated programs? And do you feel like they're getting enough information in that shortened period of time?
Yeah, I've had a couple guys work for me that they came out of those accelerated programs, and they're not bad. Um, I don't think they have the best understanding of more of the hands-on side.
Hmm.
They get you to pass your tests, and they get you the knowledge of the FARs that you need. Um, but the hands-on it's very less in those. Even though they meet the same standards, it's just when you're rushed, you're rushed. You can't take it in where in a 2-year program you can spend a month on something. In an accelerated program you're spending 2 weeks. Like
Sure.
it's a big difference
Yeah. Especially with something so complex.
for
It's hard
sure.
to hard to wrap your head around it that quickly. We talked earlier about some of this stuff. One thing that you mentioned that really kind of shocked me, honestly, is that there's not like type certificate equivalent things on the maintenance side. Like once you're an AMP, you can work on turbines, you can work on twins, you can work on retractable gear, fixed gear. Uh, Can you just talk about that a little? Like from a pilot perspective, that's pretty crazy because we have to get, you start out in low performance single engine piston aircraft and then you just graduate, step by step. You go to the high performance, you go to the complex, you go to the twins, you go to the turbines, and it's like each thing is a whole new sign off. But A and P, it's just out the door, like you can work on basically anything.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of crazy on the AMP side too. Like just to think about that. I mean, my first job out of A&P school, I was changing an engine on a King Air.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
that is wild.
right into turboprop. I mean, that was turboprop and jet. That was all I did. Like, yeah, it's when you're using the maintenance manual like they teach you, and that's kind of why that there's not. I mean, there's specialty training,
Hmm.
but it's you have your airframe power plant. You can read a manual. You know how all that stuff works, and the biggest thing is to knowing your own limits. I mean, if you're not comfortable with it, work with someone. In most shops, they're not going to turn you loose on something you don't know. They're going to make you sit with someone that knows what they're doing, at least for a little bit, before you get to go just, gung ho on a Gulfstream
Yeah.
from only
So
working on pistons.
a lot of self policing.
It is.
In
Yeah.
that regard. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a big thing in the aviation maintenance side is the self discipline to
Mhm.
make sure that you are, you're not just I can do this because the manual says it and I have my license. It's you got to make sure you're comfortable with yourself too.
Yeah. Can you just talk about now that you're in it, what does your typical day look like?
Yeah, it's so I mean right now it's you come in Monday morning, checking what happened over the weekend. Did your planes fly? Did they not? Okay, what's coming due? What do we need to have on in this shop this week? And that takes up a good hour or two depending on your fleet size and all that good stuff. And then after that, it's grab a wrench and let's get the planes in here that need it and just keep going. And it's all week long, weekends, making sure that you're caught up for those flights that you have coming up. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's about it, honestly.
What would you say your balance is between preventative and actual repair?
Honestly, it's mostly preventative stuff. Most of it's 100 hours annuals. They're pretty good machines. Yeah, there's repairs here and there. I wouldn't say nothing like a car where they're just, I mean, you're only doing repairs. You do your simple repairs in your 100 hours, your annuals. You always find stuff. That's just common. I mean, if you're not doing a thorough enough one.
And then you work with, helicopters a lot now. What's the typical platform you're working on?
It's a lot of Bell.
Okay.
So I'm Bell factory trained on the
Okay.
407. And so yeah, I've done 407, 206 is my most experience in those helicopters.
Okay. And then you work on some like GA stuff on the side too, right?
Yep. So we got a fleet of some smaller pistons, and then kind of whatever comes to the door. Whether it's we've had a couple G4s break down, or it's okay now we have an Aerostar here. It's a little bit of the variety of aviation. You never know what you're gonna be working on, which
Yeah.
is it's exciting. That's the
That's
good
pretty
part of the
cool.
GA. Yeah.
Yeah. Since you work with fleets, owned by a company and stuff that are personally owned aircraft that people bring in, what do you see as the differences in either the way they're maintained or the way that those owners look at maintenance? The more corporate side, big fleet versus just Joe Schmo with his 182.
Yeah. Normally it's your big fleets, they're normally 135. So they have to follow your higher standards of following all the component time life set by the manufacturer. They're maintained very well. And there's really no pinching pennies. If it's not right, it's not right. Let's get it fixed. Honestly, you don't see that a whole lot on the 91 personal owner side. It's everyone's pretty good about I'm flying in this thing. I want it fixed right.
Yeah.
And
Good.
yeah, I mean there's definitely times that you'll find the owner operator that's trying to be in aviation but only owns a little car, and it's tough. The prices are a lot different in the maintenance side too, because parts are expensive and so is labor.
Yeah. Do you have people that, that first 100 hours shell shock when the bill comes?
Oh yeah, I've had a couple guys that I'll go do a pre-buy for them. They buy it. 6 months later, they're calling me for an annual and come and do it, and they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't really expect that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a lot to get into, but it's what you do to keep yourself safe."
Yeah. And it's only gotten worse in recent years. I mean, with everything,
Yeah.
purchase price, parts, service, all of it's just through the roof now.
Yeah, and availability is a big part of that. A lot of companies haven't scaled back up, and we're still short on, especially cylinders for piston engines. I mean, are struggling to get those. So people are just down waiting.
Yeah. And then you have OEMs going out of business too. I mean, Mooney went out of business, what, 5, 6 years ago now, whatever it
Yeah.
was. And now Beechcraft is getting rid of the Baron and the Bonanza.
Yep.
So, I mean, that probably won't be an issue there for a while, but eventually, I mean,
Oh, for sure.
they're not making them anymore.
Oh,
You're not going to be able to get new parts.
oh, and that's just it. I mean, you got a lot of guys that they're buying those airplanes and they're parting them out because those are the parts you can find, and oh, it's a good way to make money.
Yeah. It was like Delta just bought a A220 just to rip the engines off of it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's going through the same struggle, whether you're Delta or you're flying a 50-year-old Bonanza.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And honestly, that's the faster way to get an engine instead of waiting for an overhaul. Just go buy an airframe with one and pull them.
Yeah. When you're working directly with the owners, are there pressures that you have to deal with, whether they're time pressures or price pressures, or just what are they coming to you for, and the stuff that really makes you feel like I should be doing this a different way, or you have to stop them and tell them like we can't do it that way?
Yeah. So it's a lot of it's a time crunch thing that owners are on. I get it. Everyone wants to set timelines. Um, Aviation is just something you don't rush.
Hmm.
And eventually, everyone starts to realize that, especially if it's not their first airplane. They get it. They know. Um, yeah, I mean, that's really about it. The price thing, sure. I mean, if we let's shop around instead of just going with Textron because they're going to be expensive. Let me see if I can find one with someone else. And that's fine. As long as, we got paperwork with that part and we know it's good, we'll use it. That's all matters. If it's coming from a reputable place, we're good. It's legal.
Where have you been finding the most success in sourcing parts recently?
It's honestly calling around just to other shops, seeing where they're getting stuff. If you're really struggling on one, there's a lot of salvage yards that you can call for, at
Hmm.
least for the 91 side. If I need a landing gear off a Bonanza, well, there's 30 Bonanzas in this one guy's yard, so let me go get them.
Yeah, somebody's piled one up at some point and still
Yeah,
has a good main gear.
Yep, exactly. There's good parts. I'm sure a lot of people don't like hearing that, oh, that part's off a crashed airplane, but it is inspected and, you are making sure that it is still an airworthy part. That there's subscription platforms like I have PartsBase is one that I use.
Okay.
And it's kind of a worldwide, I can search a part and other operators that have that can list it there. So I can really find like kind of those hard to find parts.
Sure. Yeah. Small plug app that we're developing. We're going to PartsBase Expo this year. So if you're in
Nice.
Miami for that, come by
Yep.
and say hi.
Yep. I was thinking about going this year. So
Yeah, come on down. We'll
yep.
do the hospitality suite for you.
That sounds good.
Um, when you're talking about maintaining for fleets, 135 versus Part 121, what are the major differences in how they look at their fleet maintenance?
The 135, like I said earlier, is you're following the manufacturer's guidelines, the time set, all of that stuff. 121's the same thing. More passengers is really the big difference. Most of the airlines, they've kind of developed their own maintenance manuals to a point now, and they're all approved. So they're maintained a little bit more than a 135 aircraft. So kind of just the standard of how frequent they're inspected, I would say, is the biggest difference.
Yeah. Yeah, when you look at companies like Delta or United, they probably know better how to maintain a 757 than Boeing does at this point because they've been out of
Well,
production for so long.
yeah, I mean, they're the biggest operator of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they know that thing better than the manufacturer at this point.
Yeah. And they're running the aircraft a lot harder too, right? Like it's way
Oh
more
yeah.
cycles, way more hours. Is that just a volume thing for them? They just have enough aircraft in reserve to constantly have one in maintenance, or how do they maintain that safety level with the higher volume that they're doing?
Yeah, that's basically it. Is you have the aircraft on rotation. Um, so when one's out flying, the other one's in maintenance, and you'll just swap them. I mean, that's kind of the goal of every operator. Is if you have one plane, you have zero. If you have two, okay, now you have one.
Sure.
So that's kind of the way a lot of people look at it, is because they need maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good mantra. Getting more into the safety side, what do you think pilots commonly misunderstand about maintenance? What is it, the timeline? Are there certain things that they should be more concerned about when it comes to parts that are wearing out?
A lot of pilots are pretty good. I think probably the biggest thing is like the owner operator. It's a time crunch. I need this airplane back. Like we have jobs. We need this done now. And unfortunately, if we don't have parts, we're kind of up to it us finding the part. So that's always takes some time. And safety wise, I mean, if you're telling a pilot that hey, this is bad, this is why, they get it. They're fine. Let's get it replaced. Let's get it done right. Make sure everyone's safe.
Good. Yeah, and we talked before a little about it too, where just the safety culture has gotten so much better. I think industry wide, and it's good to hear that there's less pressure on the maintainer side because there's so many incidents. Recently we had the Greg Biffle thing and the UPS crash, and obviously reports aren't out on that yet, so no telling if maintenance was involved. But to be a maintainer that had just signed off on either of those aircraft or any aircraft that's involved in an incident, knowing that you potentially got strong armed into signing off something that you didn't want to sign off. That's, there are a lot of historical incidents that was the case. And
For
it's
sure.
good to hear that the pilots are more on board with the safe aircraft.
Yeah, definitely. Is the pilots, the owner operators, and I think even the maintenance department too. You don't have bosses pushing you like, "Hey, that's fine. Don't worry about it." That mentality is kind of going away, which is great. It makes aviation safer.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Deferred maintenance, more programs, a company that you and I were at together, we had a TBM on a more program. Where should, I guess, first of all, describe what a more program is, and then what owners' comfortability should be with the deferred maintenance items in the more programs?
Yeah. So the more program, I'm sure a lot of people don't like it. I kind of do personally. You are taking a PT6 and extending the TBO life from 3,600 hours or 4,000 hours up to 8,000. And so you're doubling that TBO,
Yeah,
which
that's a lot.
it's a lot. I mean, that sounds like a lot. Um, but those engines have been tested to that, and there's a reason it's approved because it's been proven safe. And you are doing more maintenance on those programs. Every 100 hours you're doing oil samples, you're shaking the filter out, you're sending it out to a lab for analysis. I mean, you are really making sure you're doing vibration analysis every time. I think it's every 500 hours. It's been a while, but
Mhm.
yeah, performance runs before. I mean, you're charting your numbers, making sure everything is still making power at the right RPMs, and you are the maintenance picks up, but it's cost benefit, effective, so you're not overhauling an engine right
Yeah,
away.
because what's a overhaul on a PT6 cost wise?
I shooting from the hip, but I would say they're probably around 200,000, maybe three. Like, I've seen
And
a
if you
hot
got a,
section inspection go to 120.
yeah,
So,
oh Lord, and then
yeah.
you've got a twin, you got to do it twice.
Well, yeah. I
Because
mean, you're pretty easy into $1 million of engines on a King Air, which is ridiculous. The airplane's not even worth that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why you see old King Airs selling for 300 grand.
Yeah, because the
It's like,
engines are due.
yeah, yeah. So they've, the manufacturer's shown that the engines can be reliable up to that time frame in that program. What's a reason why an operator would not want to use the more program, if at all, if there is a reason?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is what are you personally comfortable with? A lot of people aren't comfortable with the more program. They don't like it. I see it. I understand where people are coming from. Manufacturers set that 3,600, 4,000 hour limit for a reason. So yeah, I think it kind of depends on your mission too. If you need to be up and flying, well, maybe you don't have time for an overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
It's downtime, and downtime means no money.
Sure.
Yeah, it kind of depends on your mission.
When you're talking to pilots, I'm sure you've encountered some. You said most of them are getting really good about the safety side of things, but I'm sure you've encountered some that are like, nah, it'll be fine. I don't need to fix it now. What's the most dangerous version of that you've experienced?
I think the biggest thing is a lot of these pilots, they don't understand like how dangerous corrosion is. And you can tell someone that there's corrosion on their wing or in their wing, and they're like, "Ah, it's fine." I'm like, "No, like that's. I mean, it sneaks up on you fast, and that's something that I don't think people realize as much as they should. That well, you're weakening the metal tremendously now. Like this aircraft is not safe anymore.
Yeah. One could argue that the engine is not flight critical, but the wing is.
Right? Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You
airplane
might.
will still technically fly without the engine,
Yeah,
not without the wing.
yeah. They glide well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's a crazy thought to have. Like, my
right.
rusted wing will be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I'll just put new engine on it. I'm like, no, that's yeah. It's I don't know. The corrosion is definitely the big one. It's a big killer of aircraft.
Maybe talk a little about maintainers' responsibility in safety, just in general. We talked about the couple high profile accidents recently. Again, I don't want to speculate and say that maintenance had anything to do with that. Obviously, we don't have reports out yet, but there are lots of high profile incidents in the past where maintenance was a factor. So, just how maintenance is that first line of defense of the mentality of maintainers when it does come to safety, especially when you have uh, multiple other lives in your hand at the airline level. You're talking anywhere from 50 to 300 people, depending on the aircraft
Yeah,
you're working on.
yeah. It's I think the big thing, and something we've always implemented is you got to make sure you're having multiple people look at what you're doing. Airlines have like their RII program, requires two inspectors. And things like that really help mitigate those issues because we're all human. We all miss stuff. I mean, that's the human
Mhm.
factors training 101. And that's kind of a good thing too, is that we've started seeing more shops train people in that, the human factors, the Swiss cheese, all that good stuff. Um, it's a real thing. I mean, the more you can do to mitigate that, and aviation gets safer, the more you do.
Yeah. I like hearing that too because I think there's a lot of aspects of pilot training that took a very long time to trickle into other areas of aviation. And the irony of it is, I don't really like the Swiss cheese model. I like the chain model, the
Yeah.
weak link in the chain model. It makes more sense to me. But
Yeah, for sure.
whether you're cheese or chain, the irony of it is if you're not treating or training the other areas of aviation to the same level as the pilots, they become the hole in the cheese or the
Yep.
the link in the chain that breaks.
Yep.
And especially when you're talking about maintenance, I mean, flight critical stuff like your corroded wing is
Yeah.
what's going to keep you in the air, regardless of how good the pilots are or not.
Yeah, the standard all getting on the same playing field has definitely helped aviation a lot. It's good to see it going that way, and I think it's going to stay going as well.
Are there areas you think there's always areas for improvement, but is there an area that you think is still lagging behind and is maybe either actively being worked on or needs to on the maintenance side?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of places. You always hear of people finding, I don't know, parts. Where are these parts coming from? Making sure that they are actually legit parts and the serial numbers, the paperwork, everything is there. That's a big deal because people like to fraud that stuff and sell it to make money. And well, now you're getting a bad part, and that's a big thing. So making sure, I think that's probably one of the biggest, at least in my book, that needs to have a better standard or better control is just that portion of the paperwork. Because on the 135 side, it's great. I mean, you have to have that paperwork. But the 91, I mean, you don't know where these people are getting some of these parts that they're putting on their aircraft from.
Yeah. What are the controls that can get put in place for that, especially if people are trying to forge or being fraudulent?
Yeah, I think the biggest part, like you said, the 135 side has a lot of that stuff in place to where I have to have an 8130. I have to have a serviceable tag. I have traceability is the biggest thing on aircraft parts. What airplane did this come off of? I think if we start making that a thing in the 91 world, which I know a lot of mechanics do, but there's always the ones that don't. And so I think if that becomes more of a thing across the board and people are actually checking it, I think that'll help out a lot of the situations.
Yeah. You talked about some of the improvements in getting multiple sets of eyes on the work that's being done. How do some of the errors happen in maintenance shops? And similar to getting two sets of eyes on, what are some of the ways that those can be prevented?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest issues, like, oh, you have a cell phone. I mean, if you're working on something and you get a phone call and you just walk away from it and then you come back, like, oh, where was I? That's distractions are a huge thing. And that, or getting sick. Say you get sick and then you don't come for the next week, but that airplane is going to go out, in 2, 3 days. So now, that's where checklists come in. You're signing off behind it. What did you do? So if you do walk away and someone else has to come in, or you have to come in a day later, you can see where you were. There's no guessing. Um, because people forget things. Again, I mean, that's the human factor. So if, as long as it's written down somewhere and we know where everyone was, that's definitely a big role in helping mitigate that problem.
Sure. Yeah, and almost a bigger risk factor in maintenance because you have multiple people touching the aircraft over a long period of time. I mean, there's some big maintenance items that take days or weeks to
Oh,
complete
for sure. Yeah.
versus, you look at the pilot training side and, human
Excuse
factors
me.
are only the length of the flight. It's
Well,
plane
yeah.
goes up, plane goes down, human factors issue over.
Yep.
It's not a 3-week ordeal.
Exactly. And then, I mean, there's maintenance. We've had maintenance that's lasted, 9, 10 months.
Jeez.
If it's like the really heavy checks on the jets where you're stripping them, you're NDTing the whole jet. I mean, whether it's an X-ray, it's eddy current, things like that. I mean, you have an airplane that's stripped down for 8, 9 months. Well, now you got to put it back together,
Yeah.
and that's where, making sure you're following the checklist, the maintenance manuals, everyone's double checking and you're ops checking everything. You put it in. Okay. I just put that in. Let's make sure it works. And just, I mean, it saves you a lot of time when it all gets put back together and you don't miss it.
Mhm. I just think about how massive that lift must have been post COVID. I mean, the airlines parked thousands of jets for months, and to bring those all back into service must have been just insanity.
But yeah, I mean, and a lot of these manufacturers, if you have an engine sitting for more than 30 days, you have to pickle it. So now you're putting preservation oil in this stuff. And okay, now we got to go undo that for all the airlines that were just sitting and
Yeah.
make sure everything's working right. And yeah, I mean, that's a big task that they had there.
Yeah. Military too. I mean, they'll go throw stuff in the boneyard and then
Yeah.
recommission it 5 years later for whatever reason. It's just crazy.
Yeah, we were actually just down in Tucson looking at the boneyard down there and how they spray these aircraft with this like cocoon shell and they'll sit for decades and then they'll use them. I'm like, what? That's crazy.
I just saw a picture of a recommissioned B-1, and it looked like the Millennium Falcon. It was just like whatever that radar paint, that black paint they have on it was
Yeah.
gone. It was just bare metal panels, and you could see each individual panel. It looked like it was just tacked together.
Yeah.
It was the wildest looking thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah,
I
it's it's
can't
crazy
imagine putting
watching.
that back in.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And then to go fly that fast
Yeah,
that a B1
yeah,
does. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, swept wing, afterburners, like,
Yep.
all the complexity of that, plus bringing it out of God knows how long it sat in the desert. Craziness.
Yep.
How can pilots be better partners to their maintainers? What can they do to help you?
Um, I think the biggest thing is he's understanding what your mechanic's actually doing when he's in there. And, by doing that, just go hang out in the shop with them. Go. I invite all my pilots. Like, you come out, hang out in the shop. Let's hang out. Help me with this annual. Help me with this 100 hour. Help me change these spark plugs. Just learn more about your aircraft and you'll learn more of why we tell you, hey, don't firewall it on takeoff. Be nice to the throttle. There's reasons, and we can show you those when we're doing these inspections. Um, but it's the same way with the mechanics too. Go fly, go fly with your pilots. See how they do things. So, well, then when you're on the ground, you're checking the same way a pilot does. So you know what's kind of going on, and you can see when something happens. And yeah, I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think, logistically, it's not feasible, but I think every component of aviation should at least have some baseline understanding of how all the other pieces work. Like I knew a lot of controllers that were also pilots, and at least their opinion was they were better controllers because they flew in the airplane,
Yep.
and they knew what was going on from that perspective, and probably works the other way around too. If
I'm
you're
sure.
a pilot and you know how the controller life works, and it surprises me how few pilots actually understand. I mean, even just an internal combustion engine, like the basic four-stroke side, like
Hmm.
yeah, you get taught it, but do you really understand what's going on and all the components of that?
Yeah, the understanding that is, I mean, I'm a visual learner. I got to see it, and if I don't see it, reading it doesn't make sense. So it's like, okay, let's trying to work things out like that with pilots. I'm sure it's the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like you can troubleshoot so much easier. It's like, okay, my engine's running rough. It can
Yep.
only be so many things.
Yep. Yep.
Like, yeah, if you're in the air, obviously just go land somewhere.
Yeah,
But,
but
if you're trying to just figure out, like, is it going to quit immediately? Like, oh, maybe I didn't switch the fuel tank or something. Maybe I should do that. Like, just
yep.
understanding those parts.
Well, the
I,
little things. Yep.
yeah. And
Ignition, fuel, air. Like, I mean, that's
yeah,
yeah.
how every fire has life,
Yep. Yeah.
essentially.
You need the three things, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that you want to invite pilots into the shop because I think there's probably maintainers that don't want the pilots anywhere around them when they're working, I can understand that too because I'm sure there's some pilots that are
Yeah.
it's all up in their business, but
Yep. And
it
there's a
is
time
good.
and a place. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's a stressful day in the shop, probably not the best day. But if we're all just hanging out, yeah, come hang out. There's there's a time and place for everything.
yeah, cool. Going back into the career side, so you went to school after you came out. Where could you just go right into a shop? Was there like a mentorship stage in between? How did that work?
Yeah, so you can go right into a shop once you have your license or your certification. It is, I don't know. Everyone says to do an internship kind of between your 2 years. I did. It was great. I came back my second year of school having such a better understanding of like, okay, this is actually what's happening when they're teaching us this. Like it made sense. Yeah. But I mean you get your license, you can just go into a shop. But like I said, I mean they're gonna make you work alongside someone right away. They're not just gonna turn you to the wolves.
Sure.
Which is good.
Yeah. And then you recommended the 2-year school. I went to Embry-Riddle. They have a 4-year program for that. Do you see any benefits to going to a 4-year school for maintenance?
Yeah, yes and no. I think it depends on what your career goals are. Do you want to go be a maintenance manager at Delta? Well, they require a 4 year. There's a lot of shops out there that require 4 years. These big charter companies. Um, some companies don't. Some companies like, oh, you have your A&P and your IA. That's good. Perfect. Bring it. So yeah, I think it's a definitely depends on what you want to do in your career.
Yeah. And with maintenance, just like a lot of the other trades right now, we're seeing a huge shortage of labor. What do you think are some of the causes there, and then how do we solve that?
I think the biggest thing with aviation is not a lot of people know that aviation maintenance is like a career or even out there. I know I didn't when I was in high school. Um, but once you learn about it, you're like, oh, that is like cool. That's a lot of fun. And there's good money in it. That's always a plus for anybody.
Hmm.
Um, so I think the biggest way to help that and most trades like that are getting them into like high schools, you know, showing that option that this is a thing. I mean, 'cause that's where it all starts. You have all your electives, but you don't have a lot of maintenance electives or aviation electives. That's not really a big thing. So it's getting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like seeing more programs going into schools like that. I didn't know, like, after I graduated, I started learning there's, like, aviation specific high schools.
Yeah.
It's like they're literally high school on the airport, and that's all they do.
Crazy.
It's wild.
Yep.
Like, man, I wish I lived somewhere that had that. That would have been great.
Yeah, me too. It's like my high school, we had an aviation class. And it was a flying stuff but no maintenance side of it. So it's like that's where yeah, cool. Let's bring in the maintenance side of that class and bring it and I think you'll start seeing a plus or an up in a lot of these mechanic numbers.
Yeah. And then salary expectations. Like if you're going into this, it, my assumption would be just knowing how expensive aviation is. If you're going to be an aviation mechanic, you're probably going to make more money than like your average car mechanic. What's kind of the spread there? What can people expect?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on the shops. Are you going to go to a little mom and pop shop? You might be coming out of school making 20, 25 an hour, depending on where you're at, and that's pretty low. Airlines are starting around that 36 mark. They're capping out at about the, I don't know, I think 65 mark now, maybe 70, depending on like manager level. GA side, director of maintenance. Yeah, I mean, you can make into the six figures. Just like I said, depends on where you're at in the country too is a big part.
Yeah, the trades, man,
Yep,
especially with shortages. Like it's you're going to be a competitive candidate if you have the
for sure.
qualifications.
Yeah, and everyone needs good mechanics, and they know they have to pay for them. So
Yeah.
you'll be in a good spot.
With that shortage of the people that are already doing it, how is the burnout managed? I mean, I imagine, there's things have gotten better on the safety side. Like, yes, maybe managers aren't riding their mechanics as hard, but if there's only so many of you, there's only so many of you. And the airplane's still got to get fixed and still got to fly.
Yeah, I think the biggest part is you're not being rushed, and so it kind of it helps you relax a little bit to make sure you're getting the job done right. Other than that, I mean, you got to make sure you're taking your own personal time. Don't you use your days off because yeah, it's a lot, especially if you have 6, 7 aircraft in the hangar and they need to go out now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
stressful, and
Yeah.
when there's only four of you and there's 8 airplanes, I mean, you're running. So make sure you enjoy your time off, do what you can, and then don't bring your work home. Leave it. Go home, enjoy the night off. I mean, that's a huge part. People are so worried about work the next day. Oh, you go enjoy your night. Like, there's no reason to worry about it. It's gonna be there tomorrow. Don't worry.
Yeah. Especially if, you're working for an operator that operates at night and then
Yeah.
they're calling you like, hey, this
Yep.
broke. Like,
Yeah, great.
we'll fix it tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, when you're looking to hire somebody that's, maybe they're just out of a program somewhere, beyond just having the certification, what are you looking for in that individual? What are the attributes that make them a good hire?
Coming right out of school, it's hard to like pick, but it's like, okay, what were they in any programs in the school? What were they? What school? That's a kind of a big part too. Um, I'll look at their jobs before that too. Were they mechanics? Were they working at Pizza Hut? Were they, and were they holding a job? Is a big thing. Did they work while they were going to school? I mean, that shows initiative. If you're working and going to school, I mean, you are dedicated. That's that's a big thing that I look for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that gets underappreciated because there's a lot of schools that say, "Hey, we're on your resume. That's all you need, man." Like
Yep.
even on the pilot side too. I heard it. Like
Well,
this
yeah,
is
it's
this
out
is
there.
your Willy Wonka golden ticket to the airlines. Just put
Yep.
our name on your resume. Boom, you're in. And I don't think people appreciate that there's a little more to it than that.
Yes, yes, there is, and especially when there's a shortage. I mean, especially on the pilot side right now, everyone's looking for a job, so you
Yep.
have to make yourself competitive.
The change from, 21, 22
Yeah.
to now when it
Yep.
was like you couldn't I mean, it was just so easy for pilots to get hired
Yeah.
back
You had your
then.
hours, you were good. You're going.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now it's how many hours? 3,000? Not enough. Like
Yep.
it's crazy the change.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing some of these job postings for like NetJets, which nothing against NetJets, but they're hiring first officers for regional pay and requiring 5,000 hours in
Yeah.
type. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. All because they can right now. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then career progression. So I'm out of school. I get into a shop. I'm working on airplanes. I'm loving it. What does that ladder look like for me? How do I move up?
Yeah. The best way to move up in those situations is keep your head down, work hard. You'll get noticed and you're gonna get moved up to the next step normally is your lead mechanic. Cool. Now you got maybe one mechanic underneath you and you're just there, you're helping out. Shows that you're willing to help and stay around. After that, kind of depends on where you work. If you're going to go up to just an inspector, or do they even have those? Is it just chief inspector next? So yeah, that's always an option. Normally you'll hit that inspector spot, do that for a couple of years, and now all of a sudden you meet that chief inspector requirements. From there, yeah, it's up to your director of maintenance.
For somebody who wants to kind of make their own business out of this, I think now there's a lot of opportunity for that. Knowing the GA side, again,
Yes.
there's just shortages everywhere. Like people are waiting months for their annual, which by the time they get their annual, time for the next annual.
Exactly. Yep.
So what would you recommend if somebody comes into it straight ahead saying, I want to open my own shop? Like how long should they work with somebody else? What are the steps for them to get there?
Yeah, I mean, working for your own shop is you definitely want to make sure that you have a good understanding of the FARs, making sure you're doing everything legal, making sure you have all the right equipment. There's a lot of specialty equipment that goes into doing these inspections, and they're expensive. I mean, jacks alone, you're looking at 4 or 5 grand for 3 of them, and like those only might work on 3 aircraft, and you might
Mhm.
have to get different ones for another something else. Like it's the knowledge is a big part, but also making sure that you have the funds to have the right equipment to make sure you're doing your job right and adequately. Um, I would say personally, 4 or 5 years working with someone, make sure you have that knowledge that you need and you feel comfortable with it, where you can go do everything by yourself. You're not having to ask for help. Yeah, and then if you're gonna do it, go. I mean, there's jobs everywhere, and if you do good work, the reputation follows you. I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And just like anything in aviation, right? Like it's the networking that
Yep.
gets you through. Uh, it, I've talked about it a bunch with the pilots that have come on the podcast, but it's like Colton, who we both know, he's been
Yep.
on the show. Like he's gotten basically every job except for his most recent one from a couple months ago, just because he knew somebody. It was like he hasn't, except for literally the most recent one, he's never applied for a flying job. They're just like,
Yep.
oh hey, we know you fly. You want to come do this? I would imagine maintenance side, kind of the same thing. You just
It
meet
yeah.
people, know people, and
Yep. That's kind of how it was for me too, straight out of school. It's a friend of mine worked at this 135. He got me in touch with their director of maintenance, and yeah, kind of walked in, talked with them. They hired me, and same with yeah, when I came to Arizona too, I knew Colton.
yep.
That was
He's a
so
good guy to know,
yeah,
man.
right. Yeah, Arizona or knowing people is the biggest thing in aviation. Everyone says it's a small industry, and it's the truth. I mean, everyone knows a little bit of everybody, so you definitely want to not burn any bridges.
Yeah, yeah, definitely not. Or do bad work, or if you're a pilot, be a rough guy to fly with. Like those are
Yep.
not good things
No,
at all.
the reputation follows you for sure in aviation. It is a small industry, and yeah, you do good, and you'll do good in aviation.
We talked about some of the things you run into with GA aircraft. Uh, the GA fleet, just on average, is older than it's ever been, and it just keeps getting older. New aircraft are more expensive than they've ever been. And it's not uncommon for people to be flying 50-plus-year-old aircraft. Like that's just kind of the norm now. How do we keep up with GA aircraft? How do we keep them flying longer as they continue to age?
Well, it's kind of like we talked about earlier with corrosion. Corrosion's a killer. You're not going to get rid of it unless you're changing parts out. Like I mean, unless you go change your wing out or the whole tail section. That's the only way you're going to fix that. And that's costly. It's not worth it on those old aircraft anymore. Um, so definitely making sure you're on top of that. There's preventatives out there that you can do to make sure that we're not going to be having that problem. The other thing too is there's companies that are starting to make parts since the manufacturers aren't anymore. So that helps. There's Tempest. They make everything now, whether it's air filters, spark plugs, oil filters, fuel pumps. I mean, that's all good stuff that manufacturers don't make anymore. And yeah, so you have those other companies that are PMAing parts, you're good. Yeah, that'll keep our old aircraft flying still.
And then the threshold, maybe not from a financial standpoint, but what's the threshold that someone should be flying in a year to justify owning an aircraft on the maintenance side now? Like we know that letting anything mechanical, especially with an engine, sit, not a great idea. So what do you think is like just not being flown enough where someone should consider maybe not even owning the aircraft?
I mean, I think if it's going to sit for more than a month, I wouldn't even find partners, is what I would say. Make sure someone's using the aircraft, because if you're not going to fly every month, I mean, it shouldn't not be able to, own an airplane, but make sure you got someone else that's there with you to fly it. Um, Whether that's a partner or someone that's able to fly it more, because that'll keep that aircraft in better shape.
Yeah. And what are the issues that are going to arise if it just sits too long?
The big thing is, especially with the engine, again, corrosion. That's oil falls off everything and it sits there, and now all of a sudden it's open to the elements. And yeah, you'll start corroding your valves, your crankshaft, your camshafts. I mean, corrosion's a killer. That's kind of what
It
everything goes back to,
yeah.
honestly. So things sit, and that too, and seals wear out. So now all of a sudden you go and start it up and you're blowing oil out of every hole because it's sat for so long. That seal dry rotted, especially in Arizona because it's hot. So yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing.
And then for the AMPs, they want to become good mechanics. They learn all the book stuff. They learn how to work on the aircraft, but there's more to a job than just turning the wrench or whatever the technical skills of the job are. So what are some other skills that an aspiring A&P should hope to master if they're going to go into it as a career?
There's a lot of things you can master. Probably one of the biggest ones is just, knowing how to be a people person. It has nothing to do with maintenance, but that is a huge part. Um, if you're fun to be around, people want to be around you, and people will enjoy hiring you. And it's, yeah, as long as you're personable, you'll be doing all right. Especially because, like we talked, networking is huge in this industry. Um, the other thing on the more mechanical side is learn electronics, wiring, know how to read a wiring diagram, know how to troubleshoot wires. I mean, that is a huge skill that not a lot of people have anymore. Um, so yeah, those two very good things that'll set you apart from another person.
Yeah, that would probably be my Achilles heel. I don't like dealing with electrical anything.
It was mine for a while too, and I had a couple good bosses that were able to train me in on that stuff. So
Yeah, a little bit of, I guess, um, me being a hypocrite from what I was saying earlier about understanding your aircraft systems, but I remember going through flight training, like at Riddle, especially for all the issues they have, like they take it very seriously from the beginning. So at the private level, I'm like learning the entire wiring diagram for the G1000. I'm like, this seems totally unnecessary. Like, I am never gonna need this ever, other than
yeah,
like, okay, one breaks, I switch everything to the other. That's as far as I need to know.
yeah.
But yeah, the wiring
Draw a
side of
line.
things is, ugh,
Yeah, you don't need to. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of need. I mean, you can draw a line, say this connect to this, and that's good.
yeah.
It makes sense.
As those new mechanics are coming out of school, they're getting into the shops. What are the most common mistakes you're seeing them make?
I think probably the biggest one is these mechanics are coming out and they they think they know it all. It's a thing in aviation. We see it on both sides. I just got this license and look at me. You'll learn fast that you have so much more to learn, and you are going to be learning every day in this career. There won't be a day that you don't.
Yeah, especially with so many different types coming in. I mean, working on
For sure.
everything from 407s to 182s to G4, like so that's a lot for
It's
just the three aircraft to learn.
yeah.
They're so different.
Yep. Yeah, it's that's the fun part about GA. That's why I'm still doing it. That's why I didn't do airlines, because the variety you get to work on is so much fun, and you get to learn so much more.
Yeah, because airlines, they'll you mentioned this last time we spoke to, that they'll have you specialize, right? Like you might just work on 767 landing gear, and
Yeah.
that's your job.
Yep. That you'll be an engine guy. So you are working on engines. Or I know a lot of guys, their first couple years they were interior. So they were pulling seats and putting seats in
Oh
for
man.
years. Oh,
Oh,
interior's the worst.
I mean, it needs to be done,
It
but
does.
to go
Yep.
through A&P school just to change airline seats is rough.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to start somewhere, I guess, if you're going airlines. So,
Yeah, that was like my misconception. I originally went to school to be an engineer. I wanted to do aerospace engineering, and in my head, I'm like, okay, like I'm starting class, I'm gonna design airplanes, and they're like, draft this screw, and I'm like, I do not want to do this. This
yeah. How
is
is this
like,
screw stronger than another? Nope.
yeah, 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 like stupid teenage me thought there's like one guy that's like, this is the 787. I
Yeah.
designed the whole thing. It was like, no, there's one
Uh,
dude that did the rivets, and there's one dude that did the brake calipers, and
yep.
whatever, or like a
Oh,
team of people that did the rivets and the brake
it's
calipers.
crazy. Yeah.
Aspiring advice for people that are either in high school, college, or maybe they want to make a career change, and whether they were a mechanic before or not, they want to start working on airplanes. So, what advice would you give them?
I think if you've never been around aviation and kind of like I was, go hang out at the airport. Just go see it. And if it's something that you've even thought about, you'll fall in love with it. I mean, it's aviation. It's hard not to. So yeah, go hang out around the airport. Go hang out with all the old guys and sit and have coffee with them on Saturdays. I mean, they all do it. It's perfect. The stories you get to hear, and yeah, you'll never want to do something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, air shows too. I would, if I'm
Oh
going to chip
yeah.
in on that, go to an air show
Yep.
and just see the variety. Like I'm one of those guys that, I didn't want to do. I wanted to do the engineering. Never really wanted to do the mechanical side, even though I like wrenching on cars and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll just go stick my head in the wheel well of a jet that's parked out there and
Yep.
look at all the lines and wires and and just be mesmerized by it. It's cool stuff.
Oh, it's awesome, man. That's something that's a lot of fun too. Like we'll go down to an air museum and you're looking at these old, you know, a B-25 or any of B-29. I mean, you're looking in the gear, the Bombay doors, and it's like, whoa. I mean, just the engineering alone that went into it's all cables, it's all lines. Like
Yep.
it is amazing piece of equipment. Like just to go see how that stuff works.
Yeah. Quick story. I've told it before on the show, so I'll probably cut this. But I got to fly in a B-17 one time,
It's awesome.
and it actually it was the Collings Foundation one that crashed in like 2018. And I flew in it, I think 2 years before it crashed. But either way, like it doesn't exist anymore, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And the reason I chose it because they had a B-25, they had a B-17, a B-24, and a P-51 that you could ride in, and the P-51 was like $2,000 or something
Yeah.
to go up. So I'm like, no, not that one.
Yeah.
And the B-17 was a little cheaper than the B-25, and my grandpa flew B-25s, so I do want to ride in one of those at some point.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, there's not that many B-17s left flying. Like I better go in this one. So ironically, it crashed, and now there's one less. But when we got in it, they're doing the whole safety brief, and you're just sitting on the floor. Like there's not, it's not an airline. You don't go to 17B and sit down.
No,
like,
there's nothing.
like, sit on the floor. Here's a nylon strap to wrap around your waist, and that's your seatbelt until we take off. But they were telling us all the safety stuff. They're like, you can go anywhere in the airplane once we get airborne. Like if you're walking through the bomb bay, it's super narrow. I mean, if you've seen one, it's like just the width of your foot. So you're one in front of the other going through it. And they're like, if you're walking through the bomb bay and you drop your phone, leave it. Don't try to get it because the bomb bay door will hold your phone up. But if you fall on it, it will not hold you up. It will just open and then you fall to the ground. And then they said, you can't go to the tail gunner position because when we take off, the tail wheel comes up into the body of the tail, and then you can't get out of there. Back there. But they were saying, showing the control cables overhead, and they're like, you can go anywhere in the aircraft once we get going. But if it's bumpy and you trip or you fall, just go to the ground, because if you reach up and you grab one of these cables, you're flying the airplane.
Please don't grab that.
Good point. I do not want to do that.
No, grab a rudder and you're just, it's great. Awesome.
Not a fun experience, but that was super cool, man. That was like,
I bet,
just top tier aviation experience. Like I flew with Colton a couple weeks ago on his last flight in the Lear.
Nice.
He had an empty leg from Philly back to Scottsdale. So I just got an American flight up to Philly, met him there, and got to ride back with him. So, like, extremely grateful, very cool experience. But
Yeah.
B-17 is like way up here
Oh,
in
yeah.
comparison. It was
It's
so
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, I've got to go up in like the DC-3 before, and we've had like P-51s on our wings and doing cool stuff. Like it's, I mean, you just who gets to say they got to see that stuff? I mean, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Also, when we were taking off, thinking in my head, like imagining the scenario, like you're 17 or 18 years old. You've probably never left your home state, much less your country. You're lucky if you've seen airplanes, much less been in one. And then all of a sudden you're 30,000 feet over Germany
Yep.
getting shot at in
Yep.
a rattly tin can that
Yep.
has the thinnest skin imaginable with the control cables going overhead like this.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to go bomb your targets. You don't know if the weather out there's crap. I mean,
Yep.
like, that's just crazy. I mean, you get
Yep.
there, all of a sudden you can't go. So you're like, well, I guess we'll turn around and go back through it.
Yeah. Freezing to death.
Yeah.
Fighters diving out of the sky. One guy's stuck in the little coffin of death underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just sitting there, curled up in a ball, hoping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Props.
Craziness.
Hats off to those guys. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's a different breed of human
That
being
is a
that we
different
don't
breed.
make anymore.
No, that was a different breed of guys back then.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to hear more from aviation professionals just like Creighton, you can subscribe on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. I'll see you right back here on the AirPod.